Says we're live. Right there, right there. I believe we are live, and welcome to it. Another Tuesday edition of the Daily Broadcast coming to you from the Arctic Air Studios, where you need some Arctic air in West Texas. And Oregon may need some this weekend when they come to town. All right, brought to you by McAlpin Chiropractic, also by Abuelos, the Mexican Food Embassy on 98th and Quaker, Lubbock Legends, as we get you on that United text line today. 806-772-0197. We'll let some folks get in. You guys know what to do. The early arrivals, you give us hearts, you give us thumbs up, you spread the message, you let people know what we're doing. We're talking Texas Tech, we're talking West Texas, we're talking sports bars, we're talking non-conference wins for Texas Tech all time. It's a trick question, by the way. It is a trick question. Jared in, Damon in, the talking box is on. Indeed it is. This week is just flying by, isn't it? Here we are Tuesday. It's almost Wednesday. So as you populate, as you get in, again, those who are watching on Twitter and on YouTube, use the United Supermarkets text line, 806-772-0197. Good to see you out there, Craig. We got stuff to do. We'll talk about. I want to get you guys in on the greatest sports bars, best sports bars, favorite sports bars. We have a ton of people who watch these shows and join us here in Raiderland from outside the area, so you're not just rolling into Jones Stadium every week. So I know a lot of you guys like to go to sports bars. Maybe you got a favorite one where you are, or just cool sports bars that you've been to, the great ones all time. We could power rank all time Lubbock sports bars if we want to today. I don't know. It's up to you. You guys are going to make it happen. We got football to talk about, and we'll pose the question: can Oregon take the heat? Everybody last week was talking about, can Tech handle the altitude? By the way, can Oregon handle the altitude? Those questions are not being asked. They should be. They should be being asked. All right, let's get it rolling. In 3, in 2. Good evening, West Texans, all you good, fine, friendly folks out there who wish you were. I'm Ryan Hyatt, theraiderland.com, the website. You start your day there. Question of the day, Raiderland hot links, cool stuff that we think we liked and we know we liked, we think you'll find interesting. You need to check it out, see what happens. Do that. All right, so you guys get in today. We are in the Arctic Air Studios. If your air is not Arctic, you need to call the bear, callthebear.com. Also by McAlpin Chiropractic, a great West Texan, true Red Raider, and he has worked with Texas Tech high-level track and field athletes for decades now. He can help you. If your back's out of whack, don't call a quack, call Kevin Mack. Not legally. Not legally. Not legally his slogan at all. Also brought to you by Abuelos. Like we said, they got some fresh fall flavors. It's almost fall. Rolling out limited time menu they've got going through the end of September. I just saw some of it today. Holy moly. You need to head on over to 82nd and Quaker and set aside an extra 30 minutes, not because you're going to have to wait so long, but because you want to savor the experience. When you go to Abuelos, truly a Lubbock Mexican Food Embassy. Hey, Kyle's sitting in there, our realtor in Raiderland. Shout out Remax. All right, so we get it going today. Tuesday's best. We asked for the 2 best non-conference wins you've ever seen Texas Tech get. It's a little bit of a trick question. We can talk greatest Texas Tech non-conference wins with you tonight. We want best sports bars. That's the shoot of the best thing I ever ate. We're always talking food on Tuesdays. Your favorite sports bars, coolest sports bars you've been to, Tech offensive problems, and can Oregon take the heat? I got some thoughts for that for you. Go back up. Jared, any chance Tech will play the Aggies again in football? Really enjoyed the baseball game this past season. Not anytime in the near future. Unless it's postseason play, you won't see it. Neither school showing any interest in scheduling each other. Jared, accidentally tapped. I don't know what that means. Joseph is watching. Do you think Mort, I assume Baron Morton is who we're talking about, will or should get some meaningful snaps? I'm not into rotating quarterbacks. I don't like rotating quarterbacks. I have a quarterback. I play my quarterback. If my quarterback's not getting it done, I might make a change. It's still kind of fairly early on in the McGuire era to get a feel for when he feels like he has a decided quarterback, and that was coming out of the spring that was Tyler Shuck. I don't know that it was all on Tyler Shuck. Certainly with the offensive problems on Saturday. This offensive line did not live up to billing. They did not create any sort of run game. And if you're 2.8 adjusted run, that's your problem. The problem's not necessarily your quarterback. You should have run all over, literally run all over Wyoming. You didn't do that. That's the problem to me, not the quarterback play. 66% completion percentage, 143 rating. I can give you all the stats you want. I'll agree with Zach Kitley when he said that's good enough to win. Was it the greatest performance ever by a quarterback? No, but that's good enough to win. Best non-conference win that you witnessed, says Jared. Jump ahead to September 5, 2024. Tech beats UT in 2008. See what you did there? You go, man. Yeah. So what is the best non-conference win you've ever seen Tech get? We talked a lot this past weekend about Texas Tech hadn't won a road opener out of the state of Texas since 1966 at Kansas. And, of course, the list is distinguished of some of the places they've played: USC, Penn State, Tallahassee, Laramie, Powers, all. But the non-conference skins on the wall, if you go back decades and decades, not really good. Not really good. James is watching. You guys could be texting in on Twitter or YouTube on the United Supermarkets text line, 806-772-0197. I was in earlier today, meat specials. The pre-made hamburger patties that you can get, seasoned or unseasoned, buy one package of those, get one free while supplies last. It's a post-Labor Day sale. I've seen this before. I meant to mark it down that you can get on like the pre-made burgers and different stuff. You can get buy one, get one free on some of that packaging. Hi there, Brett. Glad you're watching. Yeah, the skins on the wall non-conference, there aren't very many. And part of that is it's very telling over the years, the games you didn't get, the people you had to play, and then the scheduling for the last 20, 25 years for non-conference has been pretty brutal. And Tech's not alone that has been the way of college football. It has been a minute. It's good to see your name pop up, man. Martin watching. Martin. Hanging out. You guys get on the text line, 806-772-0197. Just like the old radio show. Got that going on today. So Tuesday's best, you can give us the two best non-conference wins you've seen by Texas Tech in person. We can discuss the Red Raider offense, the woes of the offense after game one, if you so choose, and sports bars. Greatest sports bars. You guys should know this. The first true sports bar in Lubbock. Let's see how good your memory is. I guess it's been a while. There's probably a few people that don't know it, but I would think some in our audience would know the first actual, true, real, full-on sports bar in Lubbock. Jared, Lord bless Coach McGuire's wife for being the sounding board for what he really wanted to say to the keyboard warriors. And you may have misinterpreted, depending on what you read or saw, but basically he was agreeing with a lot of what Texas Tech fans were saying, and saying that if you could have crawled inside his mind, it probably would have been even worse than what a lot of people were saying on the internet and on Twitter and on social media and different stuff. That he was, in fact, commiserating with Texas Tech fans, empathizing with Texas Tech fans, saying, I was thinking the same thing and probably worse. That if you could crawl inside my head. Now, what his wife told him was, hey, you probably want to stay off social media, to which he was like, it's all right. You can handle it. And he said, people ought to feel the way they feel. And then he, kind of went on to say, hey, when you're bought in, and saying that the Tech fan base is bought in, when you're in, you say what you want to say. I thought he handled that well. And it really wasn't a leading question. Again, we talked about this yesterday on the daily broadcast. It wasn't hey, did you see the Tech fans are all mad at you? What do you want to say to those people? It wasn't anything like that. I thought he handled it really good. 806-772-0197 on the United Supermarkets text line. You utilize that, particularly if you are on Twitter X and or the YouTube. Now, the Facebook people, you get in just like you normally get in. Hey there, Charlie. Good to see you watching. What Charlie doesn't know is we're watching YouTube. Or not YouTube. So Tuesday's best. You go back over the last few years of non-conference wins, non-conference games, non-conference wins. Well, what are the good ones? The really good ones, the best ones. Now, I put on the site, theraiderland.com this morning, the ones you've seen in person. You know, here lately, there hadn't been a lot of quality non-conference opponents, and Texas Tech has struggled against many of those opponents. I mean, do we have to go all the way back to 2003 and winning in Oxford, Mississippi, winning at the Grove against Ole Miss? The B.J. Simmons, he threw for 947 yards. Do I have to go back to that? Because that Ole Miss team wasn't even ranked. Now, obviously, during the 90s, you played a lot of high-profile teams on paycheck games that Spike Dykes was forced to play to pay for the athletic department, but you didn't win those games. You had some close ones, you had some blowouts, but you didn't win them. One of the best ones, one of the best non-conference wins. Good Lord, we've got to go all the way back to 1989 in the season opener against a 20th ranked Arizona squad. Desert Swarm, pre-Desert Swarm, Dick Tomey. The Singleton twins on the defense there. But as you go through and you look, non-conference play is pretty weak. And it's not a McGuire thing, Cliff thing, Wells thing. Who am I leaving out? The Tuberville guy, a Mike thing. Man, it is really staggering when you look at the history of Texas Tech football in non-conference games and non-conference wins, which is part and parcel, and it shouldn't be a surprise when you go back and you go, okay, well, how many 10-win seasons have you had? How many 11-win seasons has the program had historically? Not very many. How do you get to those numbers? You win all your non-conference games most of the time. Good grief. 52-17 at Tennessee. 97-96 at Georgia. 15-12. That was a game. Let me tell you, that was a great game. At Penn State. Now this was a great game. Opener 95. You lost 24-23 in front of 96,000. 94, you lost at Oklahoma. They were ranked 21st. 17-11, Gary Gibbs. Non-conference 93 at Nebraska, 50-27. Eesh. Nebraska came back. You played them in 94. You got beat 42-16 at home Thursday night. You lost against Oregon 92, but you beat Wyoming in Lubbock. You lost to Oregon and Wyoming in 91. 90 played Ohio State. Anyone remember the Ohio State game in 1990? I'll give somebody a prize if you can remember the name of the punter whose name became a verb, who line drived one in that game. It was pretty much the deciding deal. Or if you can give me the running back, the two great running backs at Ohio State that you played, one in 03 and one in 1990. There have been a lot of non-conference ass whippings. Yes, there have. At Florida State, you lost 40-16, 87, pardon me. 86 at Miami, you got beat 61-11. It wasn't that close. 90, they came to town. Again, it wasn't that close. What was their score in that one? 45-10. Eddie George played at wasn't Eddie George, pardon me. Yeah, Rob Smith. Eddie George was mid-90s. Yeah, Rob Allen? No, Allen. What was his name? Something Allen. Wasn't it Allen? Robert Allen. Maybe it was Robert Allen. I think it was Robert Allen. You confused me there with the Smith. It was Robert Allen, and then you had Maurice Clarett. 83, you managed to lose to both Air Force and New Mexico in non-conference. You beat UT Arlington in 84. They promptly dropped their football program. Hey, you beat Kansas State in 86, 41-7. You get the idea. Senior Sack did not beat Washington in Lubbock. That game in 82 or 1, let me double check. At Washington, you lost 10-3 in 82, and in 81 in Lubbock, you got beat 14-7. They were both very close, low-scoring games against the Don James teams. And the one in Seattle, Gabe Rivera was the SI Defensive Player of the Week, but you never got them. Never got those teams. Hey, Brian, glad you're watching. So we asked you the two best non-conference wins you've ever seen Texas Tech get. On the United Supermarkets text line 806-772-0197. Love the links, especially Jerry, Jeff, and Jimmy one. Yeah, I posted that yesterday, or I think yesterday. Hot links section. It was off the great show from the Nashville Network, The Texas Connection. Anyone remember that? Short-lived, short-lived, I never know how to say it. Wasn't on very long, about 1991 or 2. Jerry, Jeff, they did a show, and I think it was on the soundstage where they did Austin City Limits, and they got done. I'll have to ask Steve Maines or Kenny or somebody like that, because they were on it, and I'll have to ask where the soundstage was. I think that's where it was. Anyhow, it's Jerry, Jeff, and his old friend Jimmy Buffett, little guitar pool, and really cool stuff. Go back and watch it. Even enjoyed the commercials. My parents watched the Nashville Network 95% of the time. Yeah, I mean, it was a staple in our house, and good stuff. The Ralph Emery Nashville Now show, really cool. So we had that link in the hot link section yesterday. I've got another Jerry Jeff link that I actually was sitting on. I was going to roll that out this week, but then obviously with the passing of Jimmy Buffett, I wanted to utilize that one. So I've got one on that, and then I've got one on Texas high school football that I'll roll out Friday morning for you. It's really cool, and I stumbled on it over the weekend, over the holiday weekend, and I'm going to hold it till Friday. You guys are going to like it. Trust me. And it is something that I have not seen in a long time, and I just literally sometimes you get lucky going down the rabbit hole on some of this stuff, and you see a link, and then you go, I wonder if, and all of a sudden there it was. Hey, Mickey, Mike, glad you're watching. Appreciate that. Cheers. Product placement. Let's talk Oregon and heat. Why aren't we talking about the Lubbock heat affecting Oregon the way we talked incessantly about the altitude in Wyoming affecting Texas Tech? Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about the altitude affecting Oregon the way we talk about the altitude affecting Texas Tech going to Laramie? 7220, highest elevation of any stadium in the country, where dreams go to die. Anyone know what the elevation of Eugene, Oregon is? I do. I had to look it up. It's 430. 4,430 feet. You basically got, 6 feet in some places. You've got a 3,000-foot elevation difference, Oregon to Lubbock. So we'll start with that. That's bigger than Tech going to New Mexico. That's bigger than Tech going almost anywhere. That's bigger than Tech going, if they were going to play at Mile High in Denver. That is as big a jump almost as Tech going to Laramie. I've not heard one person. There's plenty of cake. Shut your mouth and eat your cake. I've not heard one person talk about the elevation effect on Oregon coming in. Nor have I heard anyone talk about what about the heat effect, right? It's going to be probably 98 to 100 degrees, give or take, 120, 130 on the turf when Oregon sets foot for that 6 o'clock kickoff. And I went back and I looked at a couple of different things, and I saw in early August they had a heat wave out there, and they made a big deal. Dan Lanning made a big deal about talking about, yeah, we're working out in the heat, a couple of days here, upper 90s, and that'll help get us ready for Lubbock, Texas. No, it won't. 2 or 3 days in 90-degree heat ain't going to get you ready for what you're going to see when you come into town. Now, right now, it's about 70 degrees in Eugene this week. I don't know. What are they going to go inside and turn the heat on in the Phil Knight Nike Center? What are they going to do? Why were we talking about all of this last week regarding Tech, but nobody's talking about that with Oregon coming to Lubbock? Now, what are the two closest elements like that in the Pac-12 or the Pac-2 or the Pac whatever? The Texas heat will change the Ducks' mind on those TD push-ups. True. So the closest I could go back, I went back and looked at what they've done against the Arizona schools recently and otherwise, that you would think that many of those games in Tucson and in Tempe, many of those games would be played in fairly warm weather compared to what they normally see there in Eugene. So they're at Arizona State. They're 9-10. They're 9-10 at Arizona State. They've lost their last two in Tempe. Again, weather related, I don't know. I'm looking at them going places where it's hot. Down in Tucson, 12-11. They've lost two of their last three in Tucson. Those are the two hottest places you can go in the Pac nothing. Nobody's talking about the heat. Nobody's talking about the altitude. Why? If it was a big deal going in for Texas Tech in a 3,000-foot bump up there, a little over 3,000, then with it being a 3,000-foot bump up for Oregon, it should be the same thing. But I think the heat is the thing they ought to be talking about. I think Tech needs to make a big deal out of the heat this week. Have the temperature displayed prominently. Talk about how hot it is. McGuire needs to talk about how hot it is. Lubbock needs to boast how hot it is. 3,300 feet and hotter than hell. When they fly in out there at the airport, have them greeted with the temperature. Like when I'll never forget the first time we fly into two cold weather stories in the old Big 12 days. First time we go up to Colorado in 97, I guess. We get up to Boulder. It's January. It's like the second Big 12 game of the year in basketball. All this is going on against the backdrop of the JonBenet Ramsey murder search and everything. Anyhow, get to the hotel. It's freezing to death. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with the TV? Every channel is channel 2. Took me that long to realize that was the temperature they would put on the bottom of the screen on the TV, the local TV channels. 2. We get up to Lincoln, Nebraska. We pull into the airport. Wow, we're landing, we're getting out I thought we were supposed to get out at gate whatever, but here we are at gate 7. Nope, that was the outdoor temperature on. So 3,300 feet, hotter than hell. Craig, Lubbock unfortunately hasn't earned a reputation of being a hard place to play. Yeah. I guess it helps that it's over 100 all week and then drops next Monday. Yeah. Monday, we'll get to see temperatures in the 80s next week. So hot, you can cook a duck on a tuba. Clay off the text line, brought to you by United Supermarkets, Market Street. Did I mention the buy one, get one free pre-made hamburger patties they had out? This was the 114th and Slide location today. By the way, you're right. The 7220 didn't affect the players in Wyoming. Young in shape guys. My son said it was no problem. Love the show, Clay. Thank you. And good luck to your son. I don't know if you want us to say his number or not. Doughboy checking in late. It's about time. Where's our man from Guns Up Trucking been today? Where you been out on the road? So hot you can cook a duck on a tuba. A tuba would be like a wok if you sealed it. I'm just thinking out loud here. Randy's watching. So all the media, if they get a chance, they need to maybe, like calling up Oregon people. You ever played a game that kicked off at 100? You have, probably at Arizona and Arizona State. Your record's not so good there. Yeah. Texter, would you bet on Oregon scoring more than 50? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't bet on them hanging a 50 burger on this one. That's new. That's the phrase, right? 50 burger. 50 burger. Used to be hang half 100. Old Barry Switzer. Yeah, went up to Ames and hung half 100 on them Cyclones. Kansas State beat the ever living hell out of it. Off the text line, missed yesterday and today. What do you mean missed yesterday and today? You're here today, Doughboy. Totally disappointed on Saturday's performance. Join the club. A long list of distinguished folks. Disappointed, surprised, not surprised, surprised, not surprised. Got you for about another 5 minutes tonight. Oh, we need sports bars for everybody who's here. Greatest, best sports bars all time. That was our Hat Tip Cooking Channel best thing ever ate. Greatest sports bars. Anyone? I asked earlier, and maybe some people replied. Lubbock's first ever sports bar, real sports bar. I need to do a prank interview with the Oregon media. Nah, I never got into that sort of stuff. That's somebody else there. How bad are the other two quarterbacks that Tyler Shuck got the nod? A lot of people would say that the backup quarterback is every bit as good, and many people always want to see him. Talking about Behren Ward. Ryan, was this team too hyped up? Are they as good as advertised? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Doughboy says Tyler's performance terrible. 66% completion. 143 rating. He played good enough to win. Your problem was your offensive line. That was your problem. The problem was your run game. Whether not being committed to it or, as the coaches said, not finishing blocks, that's your problem. Conference Cafe Ben is correct. We might have been there. Gordon Granger can do the interview. He is free these days. I haven't talked to him, how he handled the first couple of weeks of no high school football for him. Hanging out down at the lake. Yeah, Conference Cafe was the original one, 91, 92. Before that, you had bars that had TVs that would show sports, but that was the first true sports bar in the Hubplex, That was the first one. And we all thought it was amazing, and we all thought it was incredible. And it kind of was, It kind of was incredible. When it really opened, it was pretty good. They did a great job. Remember the tables? They had all the old pictures and black and white pictures, all different stuff inlaid with that epoxy finish. That was pretty cool. Go there. Watch, games and different stuff, be hanging out with the legendary Mark Finkner. He was throwing down the Dr. Pepper. I was not. Finkner was a ring banger. He'd gotten his senior ring. Mark's a ring banger. I always say, man, he'd get all fired up. He'd go to. We had to take his ring away from him one time at Conference Cafe. All-time great sports bars. Give us some of your favorites before we get out of here. One of the coolest one I have been to, and I believe it was out in San Jose. Yeah, it was in San Jose. It wasn't in San Francisco. It was San Jose. Anyhow, it was, I'm pretty sure the name of it was the Press Box or something like that. I could be lying here. It actually could have been in Oakland because we saw it. Anyhow, and the inside, they had actual stadium lights that were on either side of kind of the big room. Actual stadium lights that were shining in there. That was really pretty cool. A lot of lighting, a lot of neon, stuff like that. A man who knows. Ben says, Wyoming, hard place to play. Crowd, not what we are used to. Tough kids, no hype, hard-nosed, boring football. Then you look up and they win, yeah. And I said Saturday night, Wyoming did a much better job of being Wyoming than Tech did of being Tech. And how they played and how the night went on. Penny pitchers at conference, yeah, legendary. They didn't panic when they got down 17-0. A lot of teams abandoned game plan. A lot of teams would have tried to get it all back. A lot of teams would have said, well, the heck with what we do. We got to throw the ball now. We got to hurry up. We got to get going. It would have been totally anathematic to what they do. Instead, they went and they slowly anaconded you. They slowly choked the life out of you, limiting possessions. And Texas Tech could never establish a rhythm again. One could say they really didn't establish a rhythm in the get-go. They were pretty much gifted some quick points, some short fields, and off you went. That it wasn't really a methodical, quick, let's do a 7-8 play drive, 9-play drive, boom, we're matriculating it down the field, scoring 75, 80 yards. That you really didn't establish that. Tech panicked when Wyoming tied it up, and then Texas Tech tied it up after they went ahead. I figured I'd say DJ's Dugout in Omaha is your favorite. It's one of them. It is one of them. Can't wait to get back there. Legendary Lubbock television sportscaster David Collier weighing in. Went to a sports bar outside of Wrigley. Here, Bob Knight lost to Southern Illinois in the NCAA tournament. The sports bar had a wrestling ring in the middle of it. Yeah. Kind of wrestling. What kind of wrestling are we talking about here, David? I'll wait for your answer. Phoenix. What was the name of the place in Phoenix? I went to a really good. I was doing Arizona State and San Jose State basketball for host, and we went out after that game, and I can't for the life of me remember what the heck it was. Little People? Favorite sports bar used to be Buffalo Wild Wings until their wings got smaller than a piece of popcorn. Bless their hearts, man. The whole chicken wing industry turned on its head. Shortages, COVID. The last 4 years have been hard on the old wings. Collier hangs at O'Connell's campus corner. Not anymore. Not anymore, he doesn't. Metroplex sports bars. I don't know what, Champs. Metroplex people. What you got your favorite sports bars, different ones around the country, different places you've been to. Overrated, underrated. Sports bar is a sports bar. Or is it? Give you a couple more minutes to get in. I want you guys, by the way, everywhere you go now, to say, can Oregon handle the heat? Cujo's. I met my wife there. Well, no, I didn't. But anyhow, the long-running Williams and Hyatt Monday Night Football show there at Cujo's. Thank you, Curtis Jordan. Did I mention Mahomes beating Arkansas non-conference? I mean, is that one of the best ones? You go back to, what year was that? Arkansas in 2015? At Arkansas, 35-24. Yeah. I mean, they weren't ranked. Wasn't a very good Arkansas team. But it was fun to beat that fat slob, wasn't it? Does Arkansas have an altitude? No, just an elevation. They may have an attitude. Cujo's, man. The grinder. The grinder was the go-to. So quality. That's where I was the night of September 10, 2001. We did the Monday night show there with Denver and the New York Giants. And then the next day, we all know what happened. I guess that anniversary obviously coming up here less than a week now. See how that is observed. Last chance to get in. Greatest non-conference win. I think what we learned tonight, one, over the last 20 years plus, you hadn't played very many good teams in non-conference, and historically, you haven't beat very many teams, good teams, non-conference. All right, we got to say goodbye first to the people on YouTube and on what else are they on? Twitter? Yeah. The folks who use the text line 806-772-0197. We hate to say goodbye, but we got to say goodbye. And we wait